Lesson 2.1. First, let's talk about what are factoring polynomials. What does that mean? Well, the first thing we're going to start off with factoring polynomials is looking for a GCF, and that's a greatest common factor. So to factor means to simply undistribute. So this is what a factored version looks like. If I were to unfactor it, it would be the same thing as distribute it, which we have already done this before in Unit 1. So if I distribute here, and then distribute again. But now I want to go the other direction and actually learn how to find a GCF. So what's the greatest number and variable but both of these share in common? So that's a 2x. And you're going to put parentheses. If I have two terms, I'm still going to end up with two terms. And what I'm essentially doing is dividing out a 2x of both of these terms. So what would be left over? Just an x. And over here, what would be left over? Just a minus 2. What do all three have in common? A 5. I have 3 terms, so I will still have 3 terms. We're dividing out a 5 out of each of these terms. So this leaves me with 3x squared minus x and plus 6. So factoring is writing the polynomial as a product. So steps for factoring out a GCF. So we're going to find the GCF of all the terms. It could be a number, it could be a variable, or it could be a number and a variable. For variables, all of the terms have to have that exact variable. And you're going to choose the smallest exponent that they all have in common. The GCF always goes to the left, and you're going to divide each of the original terms by that GCF. The remaining factors in each term will form a polynomial. You'll always have the same number that you started with. So this one has 2 terms, so I'm still going to have 2 terms. So the GCF is a 2, and I'm going to still have 2 terms here. We're going to divide each one of these by a 2. So that would leave us here with a 2x, and it would leave this one with a 3y. Okay, what do all 3 of these have in common? They all have a 3 in common, and then since they all have a variable, we choose the smallest exponent. So I'm going to divide each of these by 3x. Remember, when you're dividing, the rule is to subtract your exponents. So 2x squared minus 3x, and then plus 4. This one is only variables. They all have a y, and you choose the smallest exponent. We have 3 terms to begin with, so we'll still have 3 terms. Divide each of them by the y squared. And when dividing, we're going to subtract. So 8 take away 2, that will leave us with y to the 6. 5 take away 2, that leaves us with y cubed. Y squared minus y squared means there's 0 y squares. But what do you get when you divide a number by itself? You always get 1. On the back of the worksheet, here are some that we'll practice in class to make sure that you kind of get the hang of it, if your support teacher hasn't practiced with you already. Then down at the bottom, we're going to factor trinomials with a last term positive. To see more practice on last term positive, you need to watch the second video. I go in great details of how to do this. So check out the next video.